What is up, everyone? Welcome to another live edition of the Metalcore Nerds podcast. This week I have Ryan from 156 Silence on, and we're going to talk about the nerd news from the past couple weeks. I'm going to bring him in. Ryan, what is up, my man?
What's up? What's up?
Well, just chilling. How are you?
I'm doing as well as you can, given the circumstances,
Yeah, I mean, that's
just
understandable.
grinding and grooving.
Good. You're still, working through all this and everything?
Yeah, I work as a delivery driver for a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So,
So were you out of work for a little bit in that, middle part?
yeah, it was like a month and a half.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
Got a little vacation, got to
Yeah.
catch up on some video TV.
That's what's up. I mean, I've been trying to do that. It's my wife made the joke the other day, and she was like, "I can't believe you're unemployed, but you work more than I think you did before." And I was like, "Yeah, I have a problem. I get obsessed with things. I started this podcast, and I just got obsessed, which I guess it's a good and a bad thing. I found a way to make it streamlined now, where I'm not so consuming my days with it. I usually spend one day on it a week, and that's it. And I don't do any other work, really. I just do podcast stuff, and then it gets done easy, and I don't have to worry about it from there."
Hey man, now's a really good time to pick up some projects and learn some new things. So
True.
there you
If it
go.
wasn't for that, I don't know if I ever would have started it. I always had an idea, or I always wanted to start a podcast, but I never had a good idea until I really thought about it. Because my wife started Twitch streaming Animal Crossing for a little bit. She got out of it, but she pretty much got affiliate then quit. I think
Really?
she got it super fast, and then was just like, yeah, I'm over it. And I'm like, whatever. And then at that point, I was just balls deep into the podcast. I was like, because I recorded 3 episodes for the first one and released them all at once, and I was just and I was doing 2 episodes a week, so I was just fucking going. It was a lot of work. So now I announced this on the last live one, but starting in August, I'm going back to weekly, but only 1 episode a week, and I'm going to be mixing it up between the live episodes and pre-recorded episodes. I already had 2 episodes pre-recorded before the passing of George Floyd and everything, and I decided to kind of take it back and do a hiatus pretty much. But I had 1 episode recorded with Mark from Veil of Maya, and then another episode recorded with Greg Thomas, who plays an End and used to play in Misery Signals. And they're fucking sick episodes. I'm stoked to finally put them out. So those will starting in a few weeks. Yeah, in a week, 2 weeks, I think. They'll start to be uploading those. It's exciting.
Pretty sure I talk with Greg on the internet sometimes.
He's
Seems like a pretty cool guy.
he is very cool and super fucking smart, and obviously insanely good at guitar and recording music too. Obviously, runs a
Rip,
yeah.
for sure.
He can definitely fucking riff. I guess getting into this first story, Star Wars Bad Batch. It's a spin-off of the animated series, The Clone Wars. The Bad Batch was introduced in the final season of The Clone Wars. We were talking before this, and you said you haven't really got there, but you kind of looked up what they were about and everything. So I wanted to hear what your thoughts on the show is and what your thoughts on The Clone Wars are so far. Well, first, where are you in The Clone Wars? And then go from there.
I'm just finishing season 1,
Oh,
actually, so
wow.
I'm
You haven't even got to the good stuff.
pretty early into it. Pretty early into
The
it.
end of season 2, I feel bad. I said there was 3 episodes story arcs. You haven't even got there yet. I think it's the end of season 2 or something is when they really start kicking in. And you're like, oh, because right now it's the first season and a half. It's oh, this is cool. But then season 2 is when they really get into story and stuff starts to really a bunch of cool ass characters come in. And
My biggest gripe with it so far is that yeah, doesn't seem to be a whole lot of overall story progression. It's just
very
oh,
episodic.
here's a mission that's happening during the Clone Wars. Here's another mission that's happening during the Clone Wars.
Yeah. There's actually IGN posted an article, and it's if you want to abridge it, you can watch pretty much the whole series in 20 episodes. Well, 20 episodes not counting the last season. And it pretty much gets you all the story beats. I think if I would look through it, I'd probably change it and add some more. But it pretty much gets everything fleshed out in a way. Those story arcs I tell about are mostly the main things you need to watch for stuff to start
I
making. You're like, oh, okay, here's the story.
my little brother is the one who actually like made me really want to watch it in the first place because like uh went to see the Clone Wars movie in theaters when
Oh,
that came
okay,
out
okay.
like a long
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
time ago. Um, and I was, you know, I was like, I was younger and I was like, where's, you know, the live action explosions and all this shit, you know? So I kind of just wrote it off. Um, but my little brother, he was talking about when the last season came out. He was just like, Ryan, you need to fucking watch this, man. And I had watched Rebels because
Oh,
Thrawn is one of my like all-time favorite Star Wars characters,
okay.
and I knew that he was in that, so I was like on board to watch Rebels, and I really really liked it. And he was like, "Okay, you gotta watch Clone Wars."
That's what's up. Yeah, I started Rebels. I think I've only watched part of season one, but I really really dig it so far. It's the same. It's the same team as Clone Wars. It's Dave Filoni. It's
Yeah,
the same guy. But dude, the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, it's legit a movie. They put it in 4 parts and everything, like a movie, but it's straight up one of my favorite Star Wars things I've ever watched. Like no joke. It is so fucking sick.
brother said it has some like really significant connections to like the
Oh
overall
yeah.
story of.
It's pretty some parts happen where it's literally just a different perspective of what happens in Revenge of the Sith. It's very sick.
Cool. I'm excited. Um, as far as the Bad Batch goes, though, like they're a unique squad of clones who are genetically altered, right?
Yeah, pretty much like I don't remember if they were I think they get genetically altered more, but they came out like fucked up, kind of like I don't know if you've met the one called 99. He's like the super old like almost like decrepit clone. You meet him eventually. I'm pretty sure it's early on in the Clone Wars. But so pretty much like some of the clones are like defective, but these ones they took the defects and like added more to them and pretty much made them like an elite squad of mercenaries. And anytime there's something super fucked up, they're like, yo, yeah, call in the Bad Batch, and they come and like help out. They're super sick. It's I believe it's like the first 4 episodes or something of the last season, and it's like all the Bad Batch pretty much. It's very very cool. So the show should be cool because
That's
there's so much story they could go on with it, whether it's before or during or after the events, because you only see them in that little section. So there's no other, they could do anything with it. The Star Wars galaxy is so massive, they could go anywhere. It could even, it could be before, during, and after the whole thing too. So
yeah. I really like that Star Wars as a whole is like starting to do like the Marvel treatment where they're branching out and telling all these other stories that, you know, there's so much potential there.
oh yeah,
Um,
I can't wait to see. Actually, that ties right into the next story. All these other shows are popping up, especially live action shows after the success of Mandalorian. Obviously, it was a huge success, and even the most toxic of Star Wars fans mostly love it. So that's the one thing about Star Wars is
I love
the fan base has to be the most toxic fan base ever. I'm of the guy. My opinion is there's no bad Star Wars movie. That's my opinion. If you don't like certain Star Wars movies, that's fine. I don't care. I enjoy Star Wars. I remember watching the original movies when I was a kid, and I fell in love with it. And then obviously the Clone Wars came out when I was like 10, and like when I was like a teen, like when I started becoming a teenager and everything. So it's like I grew up with those ones. But then the sequel trilogy, it's like when I'm fully into nerddom as an adult, and I love those movies. I don't care. I know a lot of people hate The Last Jedi and whatever, and everyone's like The Force Awakens is A New Hope and whatever. But I love all the Star Wars movies. But Mandalorian is like top tier Star Wars content for me, in my opinion.
I didn't I didn't know or really expect what was going to happen in The Mandalorian. Like as I remember, like as the episodes were coming out, like everyone was talking about it like week to week. like so many people were engaged and excited
Yeah.
about it, and yeah, it just ended up being a complete success for, you know, especially considering the criticisms of the most recent trilogy,
Yeah.
like
It was funny
for
because
that to happen.
some during like maybe like episode 4 or 5, some people kind of had the same complaint you had about like Clone Wars. They're like, "Where's the story? Nothing connects. It's all just separate stuff." And then they started connecting everything, and I was like, people are so lame to just judge everything without seeing the full thing. You know what I mean? It's like there's
Right.
a full season. Watch the full season before saying nothing connects. Like, wait it out, man. But
That's
yeah, after that, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that was amazing." Obviously, we're getting season 2. It's one of the only things that isn't going to get postponed because they were done filming. They were done filming while season 1 was coming out. So, The Mandalorian is safe and it's happening. So, I'm happy for
I
that.
love it, man.
All this,
I saw that Ahsoka might be in season two.
yeah. We can sidetrack and talk about that for a second because all the thing is, none of it has been confirmed by Disney or Lucasfilm or whatever. But one of the guys in the chat says Jar Jar Binks is the best character in the Star Wars universe. I don't mind Jar Jar, but he fucked up everything, so don't get that wrong. He's the reason fucking the Senate went in full power of Palpatine. That's just a fact. It's just real. It's real life. He's the big reason. But yeah, especially after the final season of Clone Wars and obviously Ahsoka's and Rebels and everything. Like one of the most popular Star Wars characters to never ever be in live action is fucking insane. Technically, her voice was in The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, not her voice was in The Rise of Skywalker, but no, she's never been played in live action form. So that came out. Boba Fett is rumored. Like
That would be sick.
the fucking shit
I
for
love
season
Boba.
2 is the most insane rumors ever. But they're kind of more than rumors because this shit's already been filmed and they were reported by legit ass sites like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety and shit like that. And usually when they post something like that, it's legit. It's not like a rumor. It's like, oh, this is happening. Just because Disney didn't confirm it doesn't mean it's not true. You know what I mean? But yeah, I really hope it ends up happening where Ahsoka kind of comes in that, but then she gets her own spin-off series for sure because
That would be sick.
it needs to happen. And it
Absolutely.
like she's one of the most popular characters in Star Wars.
I haven't read. There's a book about her. I don't know who wrote it, but um, I want to know what happened in between. You
Oh, in
know,
between like Clone Wars
all
and Rebels.
yeah, where she like disappears
Yeah,
and she like pops up in Rebels. Like what
because that's like eight. It's
what
like eight
happened?
years or something like that. It's a pretty long time,
Yeah,
and there's definitely a lot of ground to cover in that time frame.
absolutely. Possibilities are endless
Oh,
there.
dude, 100%. And then the next story was that Hayden Christensen is rumored to be in the Obi-Wan series, which is pretty wild. Obviously, that dude's got some hate for his performance as Anakin in the prequels, and I'm not gonna lie, I make fun of some of his dialogue especially in Attack the Clones, and that's not his fault. That's really George Lucas's fault for writing terrible dialogue, but that's not the point. But what?
Hate sand.
I don't like sand. Like his whole relationship with Padme in Attack of the Clones is something else. It's I don't understand how
Well,
they get
it's too
together
strong.
and he gets her pregnant and get married. That I can't imagine having a relationship like that and end up it being to where they end up. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
But
Like
no, go ahead.
watching that with my girlfriend, just like I don't understand how that happened.
I'm with her 100% there for sure. But I'm wondering if because we're probably not going to see him as Darth Vader. If they did Darth Vader, it would probably not be him, but maybe it will be. But I kind of think that it'll be mostly like him, like haunting Obi-Wan as like a ghost. Like the image of him like burning or like him totally fucked up, like just like haunting him. Because obviously, there's like that ending scene of Revenge of the Sith is probably that's like top Star Wars fights and like moments, like the line where he's like, "I loved you, Anakin. You were my brother." It's like it gets me every time. I'm like, "Fuck," because it's like, yeah, it's so fucked. It's like I can just see him coming back and like just haunting him, or even maybe flashbacks or something. They kind of
Well, that's one of the notes that I took. I was thinking like maybe there might be like flashback to like training or even like certain like mission dialogue, um, uh, or even he might even show up as or Darth Vader at some point. Like, did they say when the Obi-Wan series is supposed to be set during?
so it's pretty much in. I don't know if they set the exact time frame, but it's in between the end of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So it's in that time period. So there's a lot of time in there. Obviously, it's like 30 years or something like that. But
Darth Vader's out hunting Jedi.
oh
Like,
yeah, I mean yeah, it's for real, and
my,
he's obviously watching after Luke and Tatooine, and well maybe it'll be a little later because obviously they explore some of that in Rebels. I haven't got to that point in Rebels, but a lot of that is in Rebels too. So it's maybe it'll be like after Rebels because I don't think they're gonna retcon stuff that's already happened that's
right.
already considered canon. That just doesn't make any sense. So maybe it'll be a little after, and he'll be like kind of older, but not like super old, like A New Hope old. But yeah, it's like I know there's like books on that too. I've never really read any of like the Star Wars books, like the novelizations, the stuff that is now not canon that was canon after Disney bought Star Wars and everything. I've heard very good things about a lot of them, but I've just never read. I know some stuff that happens in some of them, but I just never read any of them. I guess I got too ingrained in comics, and usually when I just started like trying to read more books, and most of it comes as I read more kind of like I guess you would call them self-help books, but more stuff to better yourself rather than I am reading a Chuck Palahniuk book. I'm a very big Chuck Palahniuk guy because I haven't read his stuff since like high school because I pretty much watched Fight Club in high school and then became obsessed and read like 10 of his books after I read Fight Club after watching it. So I'm reading one of his books right now, but I tend to read. I picked up like one book called Make Time, and I literally read it in a day. And I was just like, oh, I guess this is really sucks me in.
I'm currently reading. There's a a Star Wars series about Thrawn called Heir to the
Is that like
Empire.
the
And the
trilogy,
guy,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then that same guy, Timothy Zahn, wrote another trilogy.
Oh. What's that one about? Is it about Thrawn too,
Uh,
or is it something different?
it's pretty much about Thrawn. First one's like how he becomes a Grand Admiral, pretty much, and then the second one is about how him and Anakin slash Darth Vader like know each other.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they're like stuck on a mission together, and they like hate each other, but they have to. Like,
I think there's a Clone Wars episode that's like that. I think, if I remember correctly.
I'm pretty sure they talk about the mission they were on
Yeah.
together or something in the book.
Yeah. But
But
it's. I've heard very good things about those books from like some of the podcasts I listen to, where they're like super hardcore Star Wars people, where they've read like all the books and all the comics and fucking everything. It's I watched this thing called the Movie Trivia Schmodown, and it's basically if wrestling was mixed with movie trivia. So they have like full on storylines and promos and title belts, but they do movie trivia, but it's all real. Like all the trivia is real. They actually like compete in trivia matches. And they have like a Star Wars division, and most of the questions they ask are the most insane things I've ever heard in my life. They asked like what the violation order like Finn got in one of the new movies, and I was like, "What?" And the dude answered it like I asked you, "Hey, what's your name?" It's the amount of knowledge these people have are like fucking unreal. Like I'm just like,
I couldn't do that.
no, dude, it's insane, and it's
Like I love Star Wars, but
and they even have stuff that you need to know by reading the visual dictionary. Like you would only know it if you read the visual dictionary. Like they asked like what's the Jedi that dies in at the end of Attack of the Clones, and you don't even hear his name ever in the movies. But if you read the visual dictionary, it's like, oh, this is the person who died there, and I'm like, what? Some question they asked, I'm like, that was in that movie? And I've watched most of these movies multiple times. I'm like, what are they even talking about? I don't know.
The only way I found out, like what, like in Attack of the Clones, like at the end where all the Jedi come in and they're fighting the battle droids. Like the only way I was able to find out who some of those people were is because like I'd go out and like buy the action figures
Yeah.
or something. I'd be like, oh, that's who that
Yeah,
was.
because they never say their name. They're just there. But are you?
Or they might pop up in a comic book
Oh,
somewhere.
yep,
And you're like,
yep,
oh,
yep, yeah.
that's
I want to get into the comics more, because
bro.
even just like looking at some of them, I'm like, man, these would be so sick.
There's these ones. They're
Oh,
like,
the omnibus. Oh,
yeah,
damn. All right.
real good, real good. One of my favorite Jedi, Quinlan Voss. He's in the Clone Wars. Like one of the comics in there is about like how he survives Order 66.
Oh,
It's
have you played Jedi Fallen Order?
absolutely
Dude,
that game's sick.
so sick. So
I
sick.
wasn't I wasn't I wasn't sold on it at the beginning because I was like, wait a second, dude from Shameless is a Jedi.
He's a
Like
good
I
actor.
don't know. I didn't watch Gotham, so I can't say whether or not he was a good not Joker.
Yeah,
He's
not
not the Joker.
Joker. He's like, yeah, that's a weird thing. I haven't even watched either. So I've heard so much conflicting things. They're like, yeah, it's good, and then other people are like, nah, it's not good. And I'm like, I don't know. I watched like the first episode, and I thought I'd be hooked because Batman's like my favorite thing ever. And
Love Batman.
the main character who plays Commissioner Gordon was in the OC, and I love the OC. It's like a cheesy like teen drama sitcom from when I was in high school, but I love that shit. I don't even care. But I was like, oh, yo, he's in it in a Batman thing. Like this is me written all over it. And then I watched the first episode, and I don't know, it just didn't grab me. And I was like, but it's also like that weird thing where it's you're in a Batman show that doesn't have Batman in it, you know?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, man. Like I love Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon is the shit.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the first season just didn't really grab me. And at the time, like, I think Arrow and The Flash
Yes.
were going
Yup.
on, and The Flash was badass.
Dude,
So I watched the shit out.
I was obsessed with mostly Arrow, but after Arrow, I got into Flash like simultaneously until the last season. The last season, the villain in it just lost me. I watched only the Crisis Flash episodes. Then after that, and after Arrow was done, I'm like, I'm done with the Arrowverse because those are the only two shows I watched anyway. I didn't watch Supergirl
Yeah.
or Legends or even Batwoman. I was just like, whatever.
I didn't get into Legends because it was just like, okay, this is DC and Doctor Who at the same time.
Yes.
Like, I can't do it.
But then DC Universe came out. I bought DC Universe, and they had Titans on, which it's good and bad.
Teen Titans. I like Teen Titans, but I like the Doom Patrol more.
Doom Patrol
I
is
think.
way better. It's so fucking wacky and cool. And I love Titans, but the biggest problem is they do all this build, and then their finales suck. Both of them have sucked.
Yeah.
Well, I was okay with season 1 because it ends in a cliffhanger, but then the cliffhanger is completely just like, oh, that was nothing at the beginning of season 2, and I was like, there's if you leave in a cliffhanger, you can't just wrap it up in 5 minutes. Like, what the fuck?
You got
But like, I loved the whole story arc in season 2. It was so sick, and then it just ended so anticlimactically. I was like, come on, it was so cool, and then it's just like they just haven't stick the landing. And even season 3, it's supposed to have Oracle in it, but if the big bad's gonna be Starfire's sister, like I'm not sold on that. I'll watch it, but I'm not sold. But
I mean, I do appreciate DC trying, man. They're really trying to develop their own kind of Marvel formula, but
yeah,
like you said, nothing really seems to be landing
yeah.
recently.
Yeah,
Anyway.
well, I loved Crisis on Infinite Earths. I thought that was fucking amazing, especially kind of tying in the movie world to the TV world, tying the different TV worlds together, and bringing in all these old people. Burt Ward, who played Robin in the Adam West Batman, Kevin Conroy playing a live action Batman for the first time ever. It was just even making, which is crazy now. We talked about like when it got announced, I had my friends on the show and we talked about Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, but they already made him canon as Batman because they had the commissioner or whatever in one of the scenes reading the newspaper and it had Michael Keaton's Batman on it. But even that, it's like
I just want to see Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne in like a Batman Beyond live action.
They have
That's all I want.
It sucks because this whole Comic-Con home thing could have been so sick, but everything they've had is just like whatever. Like nothing about it is exciting. It's not like, oh, there's a huge Marvel panel and they're gonna announce Phase 5 in it. There's nothing, and DC's doing their own thing in a month, which I think the rumors are that they're gonna announce a, and obviously there's rumors they aren't, who knows if it'll happen, but they're going to announce a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton playing Batman in it, because they pretty much said once he said he was in talks to play Batman, that he's going to be in a ton of DC movies from here on out, which I'm all about. And the other movie that was rumored was Zatanna, which would be sick. I don't know much about Zatanna, but everything I've heard is awesome. So
they could like lead up to like a Justice League Dark.
There's already J.J. Abrams is doing a Justice League Dark movie, I think, or TV show. But J.J. Abrams signed this crazy fucking deal with Warner Brothers, so he's doing that. What else is he doing? Something else just got announced that he's doing. I can't even remember.
Did you watch Swamp Thing? The first season of Swamp Thing?
I watched the first few episodes and it was awesome, and I just stopped watching it for some reason. But they're re-debuting it on CW, which I think is going to get some new eyes on it. I think they'll just end up renewing it or bringing him back in something else like Justice League Dark or something like that. Oh,
yeah, really good thing.
That's the other thing. They announced that J.J. Abrams is doing a Constantine movie.
I don't know if I saw anything about that, but that's exciting. I was really bummed when they canceled the Constantine TV show because I thought it was sick.
And then they brought him back in
Legends. Yeah. I was just like, come on.
Yeah.
How are you going to do
That's the big debate of, do they have that guy? But probably not, because they've never brought the TV for film side. They've kept them, obviously they're connected in the same world now, but they've kept them very separate. But the big thing is they're like, oh, they're trying to get Keanu Reeves to come back. That's the big rumor.
I don't know.
It's weird. I'm a big Keanu guy, but I did not like Constantine. But I haven't watched it in many years, so I feel like I need to revisit it and give it a second chance. But
I don't know. Like, I like Keanu a lot. I didn't mind the Constantine movie, and like I love the John Wick movie.
Oh yeah,
like, he's a bad
dude.
The John Wick movie, but like he's looking like pretty weird in the Bill and Ted trailer I saw.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to make him look like the weird rock stoner dude when he's just like badass John Wick now.
Yeah.
I guess speaking of Gotham, they're kind of doing the same thing a little bit, but on HBO, and it's pretty much assumed that Jeffrey Wright is going to star in it as Commissioner Gordon, and it's going to be connected to the Matt Reeves, the Batman in the same world, but they're pretty much saying it's a prequel. So I'm wondering, is Batman going to be in this at all? I was kind of hoping he'd kind of be like in the shadows, and like in the first season of Titans, you see Batman, but it's him like jumping out of a window, or him like, being like super sneaky Batman. I was hoping we'd see kind of that, and like police being like terrified of him and shit. But are you like in for this? Because I see it from both sides. Like I'm stoked about it because like anything Batman related, but if it's another thing without Batman and it's just Gotham with a bigger budget and it's probably gonna be like R-rated or whatever. Like, where are they really going with it? You know what I mean? Unless it comes after the movie, and then it kind of just connects some dots or something like that. But what do you think about it?
I'm really excited because I'm excited about the Batman movie. Like everything that I've seen about it so far, like the suit, I'm a fan of.
Yeah, same.
The Batmobile looks sick.
So sick.
Like, I can't wait to see it in action. And then how like this show's got me intrigued because like it's essentially using it to like build a, a
Yeah.
universe, like they want to show you the underbelly of
Yep.
Gotham you may not get to see, or spend much time with in the movie, whenever that comes out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It definitely has.
My interest is deep.
Yeah, it definitely has potential. It just, I guess it depends how they really go with it, you know. But yeah, if it's like super, like crime drama, like it could be very cool. I just hope they sprinkle a little bit of Batman in it, even if it's like super early Batman, or it's like them seeing. Like it'd be so sick if like the season finale is like the first sighting of Batman or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that would
That would
that
be
would be
sick.
awesome. That'd be very very cool. But it's like I said before, Batman's my fucking guy. So if you put some Batman stuff in front of me, I'm gonna watch it.
Like they could even do like a Batman year one within the show without
Oh
him
my
even like
god,
really showing up,
that would be so dope. That would be so sick. I hope
like
they do that.
going to a crime scene and like uh whoever depicting what went on, and it could show like, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of things they could
Oh
do.
yeah, there's a ton, and I'm the same as you about the Batman. I'm so excited. There was a Colin Farrell quote, him saying he's like super excited to be a part of the project and he can't wait. And Matt Reeves' like vision and script is awesome, and pretty much every actor or actress attached to it who's said anything publicly has pretty much said the same thing, which it could be publicity or whatever, but most of these people are very picky with the roles they pick, like Colin Farrell and Robert Pattinson and stuff like that. So I have full faith that it's going to be probably up there or the best Batman yet. That's my
I
hope.
think I think Robert Pattinson is going to pull it off.
Oh, no doubt.
And like, there's definitely risk that comes with rehashing Batman. He's our entire lives pretty much he's been carrying the DC
Yeah.
universe. Um, but yeah, just show us something that we haven't really seen before, or show us like Colin Farrell's supposed to play Penguin, right?
Yep.
Or is that the rumor?
No, I think it was
Uh,
confirmed he's Penguin, and Andy Serkis is Alfred. Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman. I can't remember the dude's name, but he was in Prisoners, is playing the Riddler. It's the rumor is
Show
it's
us like
supposed to be based on the Long Halloween, which would be
one
fucking nuts. That's by far,
of my favorite.
dude. Same. I read it a couple months ago. So I found some dude online selling a bunch of comics, and I got so many. Like I got a handful of comics for like dirt cheap, and he just like didn't want them. There was nothing. They look perfect. They look like I just bought them from the comic store, and he's just like, yeah, I'm just looking to get rid of them. And I was like, I'm in. Give me them all. And I read that, and definitely one of my favorite Batman like events. It's so fucking good. And it's definitely that
Yeah,
detective Batman feel, which obviously we've seen glimpses of in the Affleck Batman and Christian Bale's Batman, but you haven't really fully seen like straight up detective Batman ever.
absolutely. Uh, One of my favorite video games to play is the Batman Arkham series,
Yes.
and it's so much like detective Batman stuff
Yeah.
in there that he hardly ever does in the movies, and I just want to see the whole process,
Oh yeah.
you
I
know.
can't I can't wait for that, for real. I definitely can't wait. It's gonna be very, very sick. Sticking with DC, and obviously you're a big comic guy, so they announced that a Rorschach book is coming out. It's gonna be a 12-part series on the DC Black Label, which means it's gonna be there's no holds bar with it. It can be as dark, as fucked up as it can be. And
Let's go.
Tom King is writing it, who he's written for Batman. He wrote a famous Vision run, which a lot of people are speculating that the new WandaVision series is going to take parts of from. And he also wrote one of the I haven't read it, but it's one of the most acclaimed story arcs in like recent comic history in Mr. Miracle. I obviously Watchmen is a very touchy thing because it's barely been touched. And when it has been touched, it's been flawless. So you have that pressure on you to,
You're gonna touch
you gotta fucking hit it
better.
out of the park. But if anyone's gonna do it, it's fucking Tom King. That's for damn sure.
I didn't read any. He did Batman Rebirth, right?
And I think he did a lot of the recent run, I believe, as well.
Okay.
Which
Yeah,
which was very
the last
it was very I haven't read any of it because it was by the time it's just like there's his run is like 90 issues or something and I'm like that's too much. Some comic runs are so hard to get into if they're in the middle and stuff. I'm a big trade guy. I mostly buy trades anyway, but maybe one day I'll buy the trades that break down that run of the Tom King stuff, but it's a lot to take in.
that's usually what I do. So I'll get the the volumes, after the the run has been completed or part of it, and then read through it. Uh, I haven't read any of his stuff with Batman. Um, the last Batman comic I read, I think, was like the Court of Owls
Oh,
arc
yep. Scott
for
Snyder.
the New 50s. But I'm really excited about this 12-part Rorschach comic. Uh, I still have to read Doomsday Clock myself.
Dude,
I heard it's really, really
it
good.
is fucking
Uh,
so sick. You ever wondered what it's like, Superman, Dr. Manhattan talking? Well, you fucking find out, and it's awesome.
I have the whole collection pre-ordered on Amazon. It comes out in October, I think.
What?
But
It's already out.
no, like the whole book. Like it's like all
Oh, it's just in one book?
uh,
Oh, okay.
collected
Because right
together
now,
for
they
one.
have... This is... Okay, so... The reason I started getting into comics, my wife bought me the first two issues of Doomsday Clock because I'm very weird about buying stuff for myself, and she's like, "You love this shit, like just buy comics, whatever."
Yeah,
And that run famously took way too fucking long to come out, and it took 2 years instead of 1 year. So that was it didn't. It was the first comic run I ever started, and then the first run I pretty much completed, minus a few issues, was the Absolute Carnage run with all the tie-ins. I have the run; it's only 5 issues, but I had almost all the tie-ins, so it's like seriously like 60 comics. And that was like the first one, but then that made me not want to buy weekly comics because the tie-ins are fucking pointless and make no sense to the story. So I was like, I'm just gonna buy trades from now on. And I already had a bunch of trades at that point anyway, so it just kind of was sticking with it. But Doomsday Clock was like the first one like I bought. But then before I think there was like 2 issues left, they released the trade for the first half. So me being a trade guy, I'm like, gotta buy it. So I bought it. And I waited to read it too. I was like, I'm gonna wait till the end to read it. But I read the first volume, so I read the first half. And then once I got the last issue, I just read the last in the single issue forms. But now that's all done, they released the second part. So it's just like Doomsday Clock Part 1, Doomsday Clock Part 2. But now they have like a nice one where it's like it comes in like a nice sleeve case and it's both volume 1 and volume 2. And I'm like, fuck. I was like, why
yeah,
didn't I wait? I was like, I had the fucking issues. Why didn't I wait? So now I'm like bummed because I want that. But at the same time, you're talking about where it's all in one. And I'm like, do I want that? I don't know. Because with this Rorschach thing, I think I'm going to buy it as it comes out. Which is, like I said, I don't really like doing that. But Watchmen is so good, I think I'm just going to do it weekly. Because I know this is going to be sick. So I think I might just do it.
yeah. I think the only comic that I ever bought as it came out, like with the single issues, was Forever Evil, and it's where like all of the DC bad guys have to like save the world from
Oh.
the crime syndicate.
That's a weird villain
It,
for the villain stuff.
it's pretty cool. But
That does sound cool though. I think the last Batman thing I read was Dark Knight's Metal. That was the last. Well, the last one I read was Long Halloween, but the most like recent run that came out was that one. There's this one that's called Last Night on Earth that I really want to buy, and the trade's already out and everything too. It was like a mini series. It was also DC Black Label. and it's basically he's like stuck in like a dystopian world, and he carries around like a lantern, and it has the Joker's head in it. And I'm just like,
Oh,
but with Dark Knight's Metal, it introduced the Batman Who Laughs, which is the Batman mixed with the Joker. And he's just the most fucked up villain ever. And I have everything after, like all the trades after that. There's a Batman Who Laughs trades, and then a new comic came out called Batman/Superman, which is them trying to defeat the Batman Who Laughs. So I have that too because that just came out, and now they just started another like the follow up to Dark Knight's Metal, but it's all in the same world, obviously, called Dark Knight's Heavy Metal. But apparently it's more like Wonder Woman is like the main character, I guess. But that just started, like issue 2 is out, so I'm waiting for that to come in trade too. But Dark Knight's Metal, it's like cool, but it's kind of confusing too. But that's comics, you know. A lot of it's cool, but you're like, what's going on? I don't know. Whatever.
trying to follow comics is can be difficult, especially like with big franchises like
Oh yeah.
Batman, X-Men.
That's why I'll take breaks with stuff. With X-Men, I have a few major events, and then I have everything in trade form besides one of all the new current stuff, which they did this big event started it off, which I have the trade of, and then it like 6 runs stemmed off that. But they've been doing volumes where it's the first issue of each run. So it's like volume 1 is issue 1 of every run, volume 2 is issue 2 of every run, which has been really cool because they're all different stories, but they're all connected in a way. Like they tell an overarching story through the like 1 and 2 and everything. But that's what I've been doing with that. But I've been trying to take breaks, and then I'll buy like indie comic stuff, and I'll like, because I love The Boys, the TV show, and I heard it's like a better adaptation of the comic, but not saying the comic was bad, just saying like the TV show just brought it up another level. But I just started reading that. I got the first omnibus of that, but like I read Saga last year.
That's on my list.
All 9
The Boys
volumes.
is on my list.
The Boys is fucking
After
wild. Even the comic is
After
wild.
watching the show, I was like, "What? This is a comic book? Like, I need to read it." And it was pretty much the same thing with Preacher when
Yes,
when that was going
yeah,
on.
same guy, same writer. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's the same
I
writer.
didn't know that.
He got famous off Preacher and then wrote The Boys. But
Oh,
The
yeah.
Boys is the comic is just as fucked as the show. It's nuts. Like
I'm really
I cannot wait for that shit. Have you ever read Saga?
No, everyone keeps telling me I need to read that one. My buddy actually let me borrow the first volume, and I haven't
As
read
soon as
it.
you start reading it, you're gonna get sucked the fuck in. I promise you. It is insane. It's straight up like Star Wars mixed with Game of Thrones. That's the best way I can describe it.
Oh,
It is such a cool world. All of the characters, you get so invested in them, and they have some fucking twists like Game of Thrones for sure. But it's like in a crazy galaxy with aliens and shit. But it's amazing, and it's in The Boys in the way where they have like no line. You know what I mean? Like it's a very
so
graphic.
it's just as out there.
Yeah, dude, it is sick. It pretty much, if anyone goes, "Hey, what comic should I read?" I just go Saga. Read Saga. It's one of the podcasts I listened to talked about it for the longest time, and then one day I was just at a comic shop with one of my friends. I saw volume 1, and I just bought it. And then after I'd finished a volume, I would just buy the next one and buy the next one, because that you can even get a Barnes and Noble. Support your local comic shop first off. Obviously, that's should be an obvious statement, but Barnes and Noble has like a sick fucking section of graphic novels. Like, not even joking. Like, straight up has such a dope collection of graphic novels. And sometimes when I couldn't find, or like the comic book shop locally didn't have it or whatever, if I went to Barnes and Noble, they had it. And I was just like, boom, there it is. Instead of going to like Amazon or something, like, oh, I can just get it. That was the one thing I was like bummed, because since the TV show came out, they do this thing in books and comics where when a movie or a show gets adapted, they replace the original cover art with like the show or movie cover art. And dude, yeah, they had that, and that was the one that they had of The Boys, and I was like, my wife's like, oh yeah, buy it. Like that I'm sure that's a sick, run or whatever. And I was like, I can't buy it with this. Like I was like, I just can't do it. And she's just like, I'll just order it on Amazon. Because it's like all that anyone, if anyone buys new copies of it, it's just gonna. It's funny though because the spine is the OG spine, but then the cover is just the cover, and I'm like, why? Just don't. And they kind of do like a picture version of the cover, which is like kind of cool. They like recreate the cover, but like with the character and the TV show and everything, but not about it. Not about it at all. Because even with Umbrella Academy, they don't change the comic thing at all, which is awesome. They just put hit series on Netflix now or whatever, which is cool.
That's another one. I didn't read the comics until I watched the show on
I did
Netflix.
the same thing. I read it after because a lot of with the indie ones is that they're so close. I know they're like very faithful adaptations. It's not like Marvel or DC where they just take, they take certain elements or whatever or storylines and make it completely their own. It's they take exactly not exactly what's happening. They actually change it, but they make it a pretty direct adaptation. It's the same thing with like manga. Like I'm like, I already watched the show. Like I don't want to either spoil it or just read the same thing that I watched. Like it's kind of pointless. But with this stuff, it is different. So it's cool like watching it and then seeing like, oh, this is what they changed from the comic. Like, oh, this is really cool because the way they changed Umbrella Academy for the show is way better in my opinion. I was like, this makes way more sense than because it was like that weird villain, and they just made it like that normal guy, and I was like, this makes way more sense than, or it's like more relatable in a sense, I guess, in a world where this like family all had superpowers, but it was more like personable than what they had in the comic. The comic's still cool. It's just like it's cool to see them like, oh, here we can one up the source material a little bit better and grow into it and make it more digestible for the general public.
Were you immediately sucked into that show, or did you have to get a few episodes deep before you were like, okay?
A few episodes deep because I think I started it and then restarted it later. But once you get in, it is very, very cool. But it definitely took me like a few episodes to be like, oh, okay, that's what this is about. It's not like shows like The Boys. You in the first like 5 minutes of that show, you're like, oh, fucking gay. Like I'm in.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, here we go. And dude, the first scene of The Boys straight up not exactly the same, but like the same happens exactly in the comics. I was like, wow, that's fucking sick.
Yeah, that one's on my list. I'm gonna read that comic series for sure after watching the show.
Yeah, I just picked up the same writer of Saga. He wrote this series called Why Last Man that's also getting made into a TV show too. But that's like, it's cool to like get ones that are finished. It's like once I read the last issue, it's done. With Saga, they've been on a 2-year hiatus. It ends in a cliffhanger, and that's not a spoiler because you will never think if it's coming. Even throughout the whole thing reading it, you would never guess what happens at the end. And it ends in a cliffhanger, and it makes me so mad, mostly because I just need to know what the fuck happens next. And there hasn't been a new issue in 2 years, and I'm just like, but obviously he got big. He was like a writer on Lost, and then he did Runaways, the comics, but he did the TV show, and now Why Last Man's happening. It's like, who knows when the fuck we're gonna get it out of, It's an age-old question. I don't know.
Always the worst.
Yeah, dude, terrible.
When you're committed to the story,
Yeah,
and then they're just like, no, we're gonna make you wait for a really long time, and we don't even know yet if we'll come back to it.
yeah, and I guess it's like half of the story too. Like it's like the halfway point, and I'm like, what? Like what? I just need to know what happens. Let me know. I guess moving on to the next topic. So this is kind of a little old, but it just happened. New Mutants posted a trailer last week about their panel at Comic-Con. That panel just aired, and they actually showed, I watched it before I hopped on with you, but they showed like the first 2 minutes of the movie, which was pretty cool. I was hoping that they were going to be like, yo, New Mutants streaming next week, what's up? But that didn't happen. So Did you watch this trailer?
Yeah,
Are you stoked for this movie? Do you think this movie's ever gonna come out? Because at this point, I don't know if it is.
I have no idea. Like I still don't even know how I feel about like the movie in general. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I grew up with the Fox adaptations of X-Men. You know, Hugh Jackman will always be Wolverine in my eyes.
He was great,
Um,
great.
but at this point, I'm just like, hurry up and get the X-Men into the MCU. You know.
Well, I guess the
But
movies that were supposed to come out would need to come out first.
I am really stoked to see the dude from Stranger Things. He's playing
Yeah,
Cannonball,
dude.
and then Maisie Williams is playing
Yep.
Wolfsbane.
The cast is
So
nuts, and Anna Taylor-Joy playing Magic is
yeah,
dope. In that scene where you see the sword form, I'm like, yo, let's fucking go.
so like as much as I like yeah, like I'm intrigued by the movie. Like I want to see it. I definitely like they keep pushing back all the movies that I want to see, and
Yeah,
it's awful. I hate it.
same here.
I don't
Yeah, I just want to see this movie, and I get this. It kind of ties it. We'll get more into the movies that are getting postponed and everything, but the big difference with this movie is that the only money they put into it was the marketing that they've been putting into it for the last like 6 months or whatever. They didn't pay for this movie to get made. It was made 2 fucking years ago or longer than that or whatever. It was supposed to come out in 2018. Like this movie, they don't have like them putting it out on VOD or on Disney Plus or whatever or Hulu, whatever the fuck they want to do. Like even if they put out a limited release, people are gonna buy that shit to watch it. Straight up, it's gonna
absolutely.
happen.
People are looking for stuff to watch right
Like I
now. You
understand
know,
Black
I'm waiting
Widow
for
not going on VOD. Well, we'll talk about it later, but like that, they have hundreds of millions put into it. And you're not going to make that back at a VOD release. You're just not. It's not possible.
no, no.
You know, they don't get as much money from that shit as they do from theaters. You know, theaters don't make shit like from movies. You know, that's them all paying the studios and everything. They make money off concessions. That's what theaters really make money off. It's like bands, they make money off merch. It's the same shit. You know, it's like not many bands make money off actual music. It's very rare, but they have nothing to lose with just dropping this movie. You know, even if they do a limited release,
Right.
they do the same thing they did with Onward. Onward was out for a little bit in the movie theaters. I got to see it in theaters. I think it was one of the last movies I saw in theaters before everything went to shit. But you know, they put out for VOD, and then like a week later they put on Disney Plus. They could do the same thing, you know. Then the people like us will definitely fucking buy it because they're like, I want to watch this shit now. I've been waiting 2 years to watch this fucking movie, and then everyone else can see it on Disney
Absolutely.
Plus a week later. Like, and then that'll just be another thing for people to subscribe to Disney Plus for. It's like a win-win. I don't see what the I would have bet money that they were announcing that they were putting on Disney Plus today. I would have lost money. Good thing I didn't bet, but I definitely thought that's what was happening. Especially with, I was talking earlier, like Comic-Con doesn't really have shit that's exciting. Like nothing is, it's been going on for 2 days now. Nothing breaking has come out about it. Like I watched some of the New Mutants panel, but it was just them like talking with the cast, which is like cool, but at the same time, it's like, what's special about that? Like nothing. Like if you're going to do this Comic-Con
Right.
at home thing and it's going to be free and you want to entice people to come to it next year, like go out, like go all the fuck out, give us some crazy fucking announcements and shit. Like that's what I was hoping for at least. I was thinking about doing like, oh, I'll have to do a Comic-Con at home episode next week, and then I looked at like the panels and I'm like, no, there's gonna be nothing to talk about.
Yeah, like sitting through E3 and like not very many like exciting games getting announced.
Yeah,
You know,
everyone's doing their own thing now. Like Xbox did their own thing today, PlayStation did their own thing, and that's where they're going to announce the big shit because it's their own fucking event. Like, of course they would. And Comic-Con's kind of,
I'm so excited for the next Fable game.
I know nothing about that, but I'm
Oh,
sure it's
they
sick.
announced a new Fable game today.
like
I'm super stoked
like I
about
said,
it.
I'm very
That's all.
limited in my video game thing. It's pretty much I played all the WWE games when I got an Xbox because I traded for design work like years ago with this dude I know who runs like a mom and pop GameStop. And I traded him design work for an Xbox. And I basically just played the WWE games. I would play like your universe mode and the story mode. You usually can create your own character and they have like a story thing you go through. And then eventually when my wife and I moved into the house we're in now, it's like way too big for just us. Her best friend lives with us, and she had a PlayStation. So when Spider-Man came out, I was like, I'm buying this fucking game, and I bought it, and I got fucking hooked. Game is fucking amazing, and like the storyline, even like playing through it, fucking awesome. So it's like those kind of games are like what I'm into. It's like we talked about this a little before we went live, but I love like storyline driven games. Like I played The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, fucking unreal. Once you start playing Last of Us 2, you'll definitely have to text me about it because I will talk about that game forever because it's fucking unreal. You think the first one is fucking depressing and crazy? The second one fucking goes, hold my fucking beer and fucks you up real hard. And it's literally playing a movie, like straight up. Like everything's even more seamless than it was in the first one. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, am I playing? Oh, I guess I'm playing. Like it goes so seamlessly between cutscenes. Like there's no loading, you know. You just go from cutscene right to when you're fucking playing. It's insane. And just it's seriously a fucking movie that you just play parts of. And I died probably a million fucking times, but I did not care. I was just so determined to beat it. And then when I beat it, it was like finishing Game of Thrones. There was just a void left in my life that I didn't have anything else to fill it with. So now I'm just trying to finish Ozark. Well, at least catch up to Ozark. I guess that's been doing it for me a little bit.
Ozark is so
I'm
good,
at the end of
man.
season 2. I think I'm on
Oh,
uh, either.
season 3 is so.
Dude,
I
I've heard it's crazy, and I'm
love
like, the first 2 seasons are fucking crazy. How do you get any crazier? But I believe it.
it.
I'm stoked. I can't wait.
Ozark does a hold my beer.
Oh
I'll tell
god,
you that one.
dude, the first 2 seasons are nuts. They do like I always compare the big twist to like Game of Thrones, but it's like that's why I love when shows and even video games or comics when there's real stakes to shit and no one is fucking safe. You know what I mean? You're just like, whoa, I can't believe that person just died. Like what? How? Really? I
Absolutely.
love it. That's my favorite shit. The Last of Us.
It's the best kind of
Oh
storytelling.
yeah, you need a real risk, and it's gotta happen. It's just gotta happen. But
Your favorite character can't survive every single
no,
time.
no, they can't. But yeah, I'm right at the end of season 2. I think I'm almost finished episode 9, or I finished episode 9. Either way, like I have one episode and some change left to finish it.
When season 3 first came out is when I first started watching that show. And I was a little skeptical about it because I was like, okay, like this sounds like another Breaking Bad to me, you know,
Yeah,
or
I can see
Netflix
that. Yeah,
edition. And then I watched it and I was just like, this is sick.
yeah, dude, so well done. I don't know why. I guess I just because obviously Jason Bateman is in a lot of comedies. I thought it was more campy than it was, and it's obviously not campy at all.
That's another thing. I hadn't really seen anything I really liked Jason Bateman in before. So I was like, I don't know, but he kills it in in
He was
Ozark.
in this show called The Outsider too. It's like a Stephen King adaptation. It was on HBO. I only watched like the first 4 episodes, but it's really good. I don't know why I stopped watching it. I think I just got into other stuff. I need to go back and finish it. But he directs episodes of that too and stars in it, just like Ozark. But it's the same thing. It's very like HBO drama, like, but it has like weird Stephen King elements, obviously, because it's based on a Stephen King book. But it's that dude is amazing. Like that dude is a fucking genius, straight up. He like directs like half the episodes of Ozark, and they all look amazing.
Yeah,
So, good for him.
glad that they're doing a. I knew there was talks that it was going to get canceled or something, and now they're doing a two-part season
Yeah, the
4.
final
I think.
season. Yeah, there's a weird thing I learned about that listening to one of the podcasts I listened to. One is pretty much all people who used to be involved in the industry, whether they're producers or actors or whatever, and now they do like a daily show that talks about like news. So they're still involved, obviously, but they're not like they work for themselves basically, or work for this one guy who owns it more than just like being a producer or whatever. But they did that instead of doing 2 final seasons. They broke it up into 2 parts, so the actors couldn't renegotiate their contracts. It's kind of fucked up. They go, oh yeah, it's a 2-part final season, when really it's like, oh, it's season 4 and season 5. Like they're both 7 episodes. Like obviously they're it's 2 seasons, and they're like, oh yeah, they just break that up so they don't have to negotiate their contracts and they can all squeeze it into one. And I was like, damn, that's cold.
They're trying to milk it for everything they can.
I mean, I'm sure the actors in that, like, obviously that's like a huge show for Netflix, so I'm sure they're making pretty good money. But at the end of the day, it's still pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end this. The last 2 topics are pretty MCU heavy, so buckle in because I love the MCU. I'm kind of I guess people would call me an MCU show. Obviously, I love other things. I love DC. I love pretty much anything nerd. I like it, but everyone knows me as the MCU guy, I guess, which is, I guess they listen to this stuff and they're like, oh yeah, okay, he does know more than just MCU. But I don't know. I just love the MCU. I think it's like an untouchable feat of what they've done, and they just keep going forward. But Giancarlo Esposito, who's obviously in season 2 of The Boys, which is that this dude's in fucking everything. He's like the big bad now in The Boys. But he said the next step in his career would be the MCU. So, who do you want to see him play in the MCU? I've heard a lot of fan casting, and they've all been great. So I'm curious to see what you think.
I watched a video. It's like, just like, he's in the Mandalorian.
Yep. Breaking Bad.
He's just Breaking Bad. He's going to be the bad guy in Far Cry 6. Yep. So just off the cuff, like, I'm gonna assume he's probably gonna be a bad guy.
You would think. He's like the most terrifying man with, like, you look at him and you think he should not be terrifying, but he is the most terrifying man, like, ever.
He's got that stare, man.
Dude, and that voice, you're just like, this dude would kill me straight up. 100% would murder me. I believe it.
I was watching of like what other people thought, and there's some pretty good guesses.
Yeah.
And some pretty I don't know what the word is for it, but
maybe
I personally think interesting, yeah. But I would like to see him as Kang the Conqueror, I think.
Oh, okay.
Which would tie in pretty well to them bringing in Fantastic Four.
Yep.
Down the road.
That's one I haven't heard from him, so that's cool. I love Kang. Kang is not a lot. I don't know. I haven't read like a ton of stuff with Kang in it, but I know the general, like, or more than the general of like what Kang is. And especially with like the Young Avengers kind of starting to get set up, obviously Iron Lad and Kang are, spoiler, I guess. I don't know if they'll do the same thing in the MCU, but they're the same person, just from different times. Which I hope they do, because that would be so fucking sick. But he's supposed to be in the Loki series, Kang the Conqueror. He's supposed to be like, he's supposed to be like the villain of the Loki series, which would make sense.
I didn't know.
Because so the little Super Bowl clip they showed, he's wearing a jumpsuit, and it says TVA, which is like the Time Variance Authority. I could be saying that wrong, but it's something like that. And they're basically like time cops. And obviously Loki now just stealing the Tesseract from what would have been 2012 in the Avengers. In Avengers Endgame he did it, but they went back to 2012, and he went to wherever the fuck he went. Like, obviously he created like a branch timeline, like what they were saying in the movie, how they explained it. If you mess something up, it creates a branch timeline, which is obviously going to create the multiverse of what's about to come with everything. So everyone's thinking like, oh, time shit, like who's better to be in than Kang the Conqueror? But him as Kang the Conqueror would be really cool. The one I was listening to Kevin Smith's podcast, and he said that he heard a rumor or whatever that he's supposed to be Norman Osborn.
That was one of the characters that I saw in one of the videos
Yeah,
earlier, and I could totally see that
dude.
as well.
Wow.
You'd have to play that that double, Norman Osborn, crazy Green Goblin.
Yeah,
Like, I
dude.
think he could do it.
Another good one I've seen, which would be fucking the most insane thing ever, and I'm here for it. Him as Professor X.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and I think it, he could definitely do it. Like,
Dude.
he,
Whew.
him as Gus, like, just he has that customer service voice
Oh,
before he like
yes.
does that snap.
Dude, straight up.
Like he could probably.
And someone, one of the podcasts I listen to, his name's Coy Jandrew. He super knowledgeable about comics and all this stuff, but he brought up Professor X, but he was saying making both Professor X and Magneto, like obviously changing their origins so it kind of matches more with current times and everything, but having them both black and kind of having one be the Malcolm X and one be the Martin Luther King. Like, because honestly, like in the comics, like that's, like Magneto is Malcolm X and Charles Xavier is Martin Luther King. Like it's, definitely like direct parallels to both 100%. So it's like, if they really did that, like that would be so cool. Because that's like, obviously it's like a huge thing. Like how do you have Magneto, but then, he was a kid in World War II. It's like, where the fuck has he been this whole time? You know what I mean? Or maybe they explain it with a parallel universe or whatever. But I think it would be way cooler if kind of the events of what happened in Endgame and what might happen in WandaVision, that the mutants get created, kind of like around with what's going on. Or maybe they got created by the snap. Like that's a big theory because in the beginning of Endgame, Rocket says, "Oh, the snap created this big surge that no one's ever seen before." Like, oh, does that activate the X gene? Like, what? Or who the fuck knows? I have full faith they're gonna do something fucking awesome. I just have no idea how they're gonna do it. Thankfully, that's not my job.
Yeah. However they're gonna do it, like they'll pull it off.
Yeah.
And it'll be great.
100%. I have full faith that it'll be awesome. So. Yeah, Kang is very cool. A lot of people said Dr. Doom too, which I could get, but I kind of want someone more. Obviously, his voice is like demanding and like terrifying, but he's not who I picture for Dr. Doom, because I really think Dr. Doom is going to be, not that like Norman Osborn or Professor X wouldn't be a huge part, but I think like Dr. Doom is the next Thanos. I think he's going to be a mix of like Thanos and Loki, where he'll be reoccurring.
I think so as well.
But he's going to be the next like big bad. Because
especially recently, the Russo brothers talking about
Secret Wars, baby.
Secret Wars.
And the thing is, they have talked about this since like Endgame. Like in the press junket for Endgame, they're like, yeah, well, we're gonna be done with Marvel for a while, but like, they're like, oh, what would bring you back? And they're like, Secret Wars. And I'm like, don't tease me with that shit, because that event is the most bonkers thing ever.
Absolutely.
I love it. And the guy who wrote that, he's writing the new X-Men run. So, to set up, if you haven't read the new X-Men shit, like, it's amazing, and it's the same writer. So, but...
And they just introduced the Skrulls with Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
Why wouldn't they do it?
Dude, especially with Fantastic Four coming in and everything, like, it definitely could be the next Endgame 10 years down the road. 100%.
Absolutely.
And I'm here for it. There's definitely some, I don't want to, for anyone who hasn't read it or wants to be surprised if it happens in the movies, but there's a couple panels that if they took those panels out and they happen, dude, people will freak the fuck out. 100%. And obviously I think they'll change shit because obviously they've never done anything direct from comics, but the Russos with Secret Wars, sign me up. Where I'll sign my name in blood. I don't care.
Just the whole idea of like using Skrulls to like infiltrate the superheroes,
yeah.
like
I think that'll come before, because obviously with Far From Home they definitely were like teasing the paranoia and the like what's real, what's not, and then obviously them having that with all the Mysterio shit, and then boom, after credit scene, yeah, it wasn't even those people at all. Now you're thinking like, who was fake this whole time? You know, like who's fake now? It's like fuck. Because there's been rumors of like a Secret Invasion like series coming out, or are they going to incorporate it with Captain Marvel 2 a little bit? Who knows? But I definitely think it's some sort of like Secret Invasion, or it's going to just keep creeping in more and more as things go along. Because obviously they painted Skrulls as like the good guys, but it doesn't mean there isn't bad Skrulls out there. And especially with Fantastic Four, and if they have like Super Skrull, you know, being behind all the bad Skrulls or something, like they definitely can keep rolling with that shit. I'm just waiting for someone to die and then to turn into a Skrull, and everyone be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
that's what I'm waiting for.
I'm pumped for Reed Richards to finally be in the MCU.
Same.
And yeah, for them to build up, they're gonna do. Yeah, they're not just gonna. Doctor Doom's not gonna just be another Loki. You know.
No. Yeah, that's why I was saying he's got to be a mix. You know, he'll be like, I meant Loki as like reoccurring. You know, like he'll keep popping up, but he's gonna be the next. Especially if they're building a Secret Wars, like he's the big bad in that. He is God.
Oh yeah.
Can't. Oh god. So yeah, I don't see him as Doctor Doom, but I wouldn't be mad at the same time, I guess.
No, any one of those roles, honestly, I think that he could definitely pull it off.
Oh, for sure, 100%. I mean, that dude's fucking incredible. Obviously,
very versatile actor for sure.
Oh yeah. He was even in Dear White People too. It was a very small role, but he was in that too. He played someone completely different too than he has in other stuff. He's kind of like almost like a happy-go-lucky guy in a way. It's very strange, but it was cool. I was like,
I didn't watch that, but I can't like imagine him being like upbeat and like happy.
He is kind of upbeat and happy. It's definitely different, but he does it very well. I will give him that. But I mean I have no doubt that the dude can do whatever. You know, 100%.
The image I have in my head right now is him just stepping out of that crashed TIE fighter.
So badass,
in
dude.
Mandalorian.
Holy fuck. The thing is, I didn't get the Darksaber thing. I was like, that thing's fucking cool. And then obviously after I watched it, the internet was already like freaking out. They're like, oh yeah, it's from Clone Wars. And then when I watch Clone Wars and it pops up, I'm like, oh fuck, that is dope. But yeah, and obviously if you saw Rebels, then you know about it too, because it comes back in that everything. Very sick. Very, very dope. All right, last topic. So it's a little bit of hodgepodge of a bunch of stuff. Obviously, we were talking about a little bit before. Everything's getting pushed back. Productions are getting pushed back or still haven't started back up. Falcon the Winter Soldier, which was supposed to come out next month, got postponed. I think all it has left is reshoots, but they didn't say when. But I'm pretty sure they said it's still supposed to come out this year. And then they said WandaVision is still supposed to come out this year too. So I'm very curious to see when they both come out together, because I think they went back to filming, or they're going back to filming soon because it's in Europe, and Europe is way smarter than the United States, and they're way better off than we are. So so they can do that shit, but
they get to have summer.
Yeah, they get to have kind of life back, I guess. But like, they just do it late fall, and then WandaVision comes out in December, because a report came out saying WandaVision is getting pushed to early spring, and then they kind of retracted and said, oh no, it's still coming out this year. But I also kind of was thinking like, since Black Widow was already supposed to be out, and then Falcon the Winter Soldier was supposed to come out in August, like, do after credit scenes kind of coincide with each other and connect? Because obviously these shows are fully connected with the MCU, where as before, some shows kind of mentioned MCU stuff, but they weren't really connected. They never kind of showed up back in there. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. obviously had Coulson, which was straight from the movies, but they kind of only referenced stuff, and nothing was ever really like, oh, we're in the same world, other than a few references. And then they started doing time travel and shit like that, and then you don't even know where they are in time anymore. So never really connected. Apparently the new season connects shit. I still need to watch it, but that's what people told me. It kind of connects to the MCU. So we'll see about that. But they're pretty much going to be 6 to 8 hour MCU movies. So it's like, what do they do? Just switch around after credit scenes, like, and obviously like WandaVision was supposed to lead straight into Doctor Strange and into Loki and stuff like that, and it's like keeping these in this year, like, is that gonna mess up the flow of everything? And I don't know. Like, I don't know how they're supposed to go with each other.
Like Marvel's timeline is just like continuously being pushed back,
Yeah.
and I hate it because there's so many projects that, and even casting announcements that we're all waiting for, you
Seriously.
know.
Who's Moon Knight?
Like I want to know if fucking John,
Oh, Krasinski?
yeah, I want to know if he's playing fucking
Reed Richards?
uh Reed Richards,
He has
man.
to be. The
Like
comics
he
look
has
like
to
John
be.
Krasinski. Reed Richards looks like John Krasinski in the comics right now. It has to be him. I will accept
If he's
nothing
not,
else.
I'm gonna be
Him and
sad.
Emily Blunt, they have to be in it. I will not accept anything else. There's few fan casting that I will not accept anything different. It's that, and I really want to see Zac Efron as Adam Warlock. Really bad, super bad. Or
I could
I
see
would
that.
accept Johnny Storm. Other than that, because he's
I could also see him as Johnny
yeah,
Storm.
he's one of those guys. He has to end up at the MCU soon. You know what I mean? Like Christian Bale's about to be in
Chris
a Thor
Evans.
movie. Like everyone is in this shit. Like Angelina Jolie's in one. Like some of these other big names who haven't been in it, they're coming for sure. But yeah, even casting announcements like, you know, when's Blade coming out, or like who's playing She-Hulk, who's playing Moon Knight. Who knows? But everything keeps getting pushed back. And there's referencing Kevin Smith's podcast again. He does it with his dude Mark Bernardin, who's a writer for TV and movies, and he said he heard a rumor that if Black Widow and Wonder Woman get pushed back again, which obviously is looking very likely that's going to happen, especially with Tenet getting pushed back indefinitely. They're like, it's just coming out when the fuck ever. He said he heard a rumor that they might put those out in VOD because they don't want to keep pushing back their schedules. So obviously everyone would be very stoked about that, but at the same time it kind of leaves some problems. One being it's going to kill movie theaters, because obviously huge movies like this, they're meant to be seen in the movie theaters. They're what keeps movie theaters open, because those are the movies people go to see. People don't go see the indie movies, besides like me and my wife and people who like movies, which is obviously a very small minority, and everyone just goes to see the big ones, and that's pretty much it. Another problem is all their production on everything else is halted, or was postponed or not happening. So it's like if they do release this stuff now, then it's going to be an even longer wait for other stuff to come out. I'm pretty sure Eternals is probably done, or at least close to being filmed, I would imagine, if it was supposed to come out in November. But even with that, it's like, you have these 2 TV shows that I think WandaVision is done and Falcon Winter Soldier is also done. Obviously Black Widow's done. Eternals might be done. But after that, it's like none of these movies, I don't think, have even started filming. So it's, if you do release these, when are we going to see the next one? Like,
Right.
I guess they could space out Eternals,
Either way,
but
you're losing.
yeah, it's like
Either way, you're losing.
exactly. And it's, if they put them out, they're losing hundreds and millions of dollars. And that's what, like, a lot of people are like, why? What? I mean, they're losing money now, and I was like, yeah, but if they just wait a year, even if it's a year, they're gonna make $1 billion. Like, it's a Marvel movie.
Wait,
Yeah.
for sure.
So it's that, like, like, obviously if they put Black Widow out on VOD, I'm buying it the day it comes out. But at the same time, it's like, I love going to the movies. I don't want movies to die. And if those movies start coming out, that's like the nail in the coffin of movie theaters. I kind of thought they were probably going to go in that direction, where, or at least they were going to start doing, where all these indie movies are going to come to, Netflix or Hulu will buy it and it'll come out on there, or it'll do like the special VOD releases like some have, like Invisible Man and King of Staten Island and shit like that, like Trolls. Like, those movies even Trolls was kind of weird, but that one did super well because their main market is kids and everyone's at home with their kids, so that one was a little different. But you put once movies like that go on, that's the end of movie theaters. Movie theaters are already in trouble. Then you put out this one of the biggest movies of the year, and it's like it's writing on the walls there. So it's what obviously I don't know if you go to the movies, but it sounds like you go to the movies a lot. Kind of like how my wife and I do. It's like one of our favorite things to do. We'll see so many movies in theaters just because it's one of our favorite things to do. But obviously we miss going to the movies. It sucks, but it's like at a point where like, oh, do we watch this at our house or do we want to watch this in a movie theater 6 months from now or whatever? Because it's kind of looking like there probably won't be movies in theaters this year for the rest of this year. That's at least what it looks like.
Yeah, there's a movie theater that I go to locally a lot. On Mondays, they have like half off movie nights.
Yeah.
So I'll just like go watch two movies back to back, and then we get free popcorn or whatever. Like I love going to the movies, and it sucks because like on one hand, like streaming is the future, so in some capacity, how's that gonna affect movie theaters and like the pandemic going on, no one's going to see movies, so that is also hurting movie theaters,
Yep.
And I don't want to see them go away, but I really want to see Black Widow.
Dude, this was supposed to come out in March.
I want to see Taskmaster in action, dude.
So badass. He looks so sick in movie form too. I want to know who it is.
I don't know who it is.
Dude, and there's these batshit theories. If you haven't watched this YouTube channel, it's called New Rockstars. They do crazy trailer breakdowns and they do movie breakdowns. They'll show like all the Easter eggs from movies or like comic nods or pop culture nods and shit like that. It's super sick, but they'll do trailer breakdowns of like obviously there isn't much new trailers coming out, but they kind of have this new podcast where they call it Rogue Theory, and they'll go through like whatever's kind of relevant and they'll just talk about like crazy. They'll just like come up with crazy theories for it. But in the trailer breakdowns, they'll like try to predict what's going to happen in the movie. And there's a scene from the Black Widow trailer where Yelena Belova is on this like table and there's this like laser going around her face, and the machine actually has aim on it, which aim is obviously from Iron Man 2. Was it Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3? One of the Iron Man movies. I think it was Iron Man 2 because it was the main bad guy, not Whiplash, but the guy who was behind everything. That was his company, I think. Sorry if I misquoted that, and it's the one from Iron Man 3, but I'm pretty sure it's Iron Man 2. But so it's like there's talk of that coming back, and obviously that's a big company in Marvel comic lore. And there's like this crazy theory that the Black Widow in Infinity War is actually Yelena Belova with Scarlett Johansson's face, because she's wearing the same like Infinity War vest and like all this shit. And there's also this other crazy theory. I don't know if that one's true. It's kind of like a little too wacky. There's also another crazy theory where there's even a Funko Pop for Black Widow, and she's holding these red tubes that when she's falling in Endgame, she goes back to the events of what happens in the Black Widow movie, does all this shit because she has extra pin particles, because obviously she was supposed to go back home. She already knows she's dying. So she's like, oh, I need to fix this shit from my past. Because this obviously is supposed to happen between Civil War and Infinity War. It's like in that gap. So she time travels while she's falling. Because obviously it's instantaneous. You can go right back to that time, that period in time. So she goes back, fixes everything, and then at the end she goes back and then dies. Which is fucking insane. But how crazy would that be if that was like what actually happens in the movie?
I mean, at this point, I don't know if it can be ruled out. I mean, they're doing all this going around with time travel. Anything could happen.
It's my big worry is that they can take a risk with this movie, obviously. Like, obviously, MCU has anyone's money, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It could be called, like, fucking Dickhead, Next Marvel movie, Dickhead, and everyone's like, fuck yeah, I'm going, you know what I mean? It'd still make $1 billion. Like, it doesn't fucking matter, So, especially with the success of Infinity War and Endgame, like, motherfuckers stuck the landing, and they stuck it fucking hard. And, both two of the biggest movies of all time, Avengers Endgame being the biggest movie of all time. So they're at this point where they don't need to do like a formulaic Marvel movie. They can, because that's what's like, Captain Marvel has like a bunch of like lovers and haters. I liked it. My wife hated it because she expected more out of a Marvel movie. She was like, I wanted more out of it, especially being the first female-led movie. I wanted more out of it. Obviously, the movie made $1 billion, super popular, but you know there is that little bit of divide. Like some people are like, oh, it was kind of whatever. I kind of like the buddy cop feel, and Sam Jackson was really the stick out, and Ben Mendelsohn as Talos. Those two were like the big stick outs, like of that movie to me. That's what made me really like the movie was those two. But they have this chance to like really do something out of the box and crazy and wacky, like not necessarily wacky, but they can do something because people are already fucking going. It doesn't matter. You know, people are already there. So take that chance and make it a crazy fucking movie, which I hope they do. It was kind of like, you know, like Winter Soldier. Like I don't think anyone was expecting Winter Soldier when it came out. Like Captain America: First Avenger is a fucking amazing movie, but it's kind of like a formulaic superhero movie. You know what I mean? It's like a very much a Marvel movie. But if they do like a Winter Soldier type, like the trailers kind of give you that vibe, that like spy espionage kind of vibe. But like if they do something like that, where you're like, oh fuck, I was not expecting that. Like that's what I'm hoping for. So that's my only worry, is that it comes out and you're like, oh, I mean, yeah, it was good, because it's I have the same thing with like Marvel movies. Like there's no bad Marvel movie. There's just like great ones, and then there's like good ones or like okay ones. You know.
But they all contribute to the overall story.
Right. That's exactly the way I look at it. You know, it's like they all they're all a part of the puzzle, you know, no matter what way you look at it. So they all have value, no matter if you didn't like fully like the movie or whatever. And especially going back and rewatching ones after like what happens, it gives you such a new perspective and respect for certain movies. It definitely did for me, because before Infinity War, I rewatched the whole thing. And I was like, a lot of the movies, I was like, wow, I was like, that movie was fucking awesome. I don't know why people hate on it so much and everything like that. But yeah, it's like, I really hope they go out of the box with this. I think Eternals is definitely going to go out of the box, because even hardcore comic fans don't know shit about the Eternals, because the comics are so weird and they're not really like anything like story driven. They're kind of just like a figure in Marvel comics, you know? So that one, I have no doubt that one's going to be fucking crazy. But I really hope they do something, especially like I'm sure Scarlett Johansson had a lot of say with this movie. She's obviously earned it, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm hoping. Whenever we get to see this movie, I don't think it's going to be. When's it supposed to come out? It was supposed to come out in August, right? Or did it get moved again to November or something? I don't even remember anymore. I can't keep up with these dates moving, you know.
Supposed to come out in May, and then it got pushed
to
back.
August, right? I think.
Yeah, I think.
But yeah, I don't think it's happening in August. It's the same thing with like New Mutants. Like even today, they're like, yeah, August 28th, and I'm like, no fucking way. There's no way that's happening. No way. Is that the same way you feel about Black Widow though? Do you feel the same way about Black Widow? Like you hope it's like something a little, you know, not.
Absolutely. I think some of the best Marvel movies to come out recently, you know, Endgame aside, like my favorite ones had those weird oddball twists in it, you know, that you were really hoping for, but you know, didn't really know, like Thor Ragnarok. Dude. You know, one of my most favorite Hulk comics, you know, Planet Hulk.
Yeah.
And like getting to see that on screen, like, made me so happy. And I wasn't expecting that to ever happen in the MCU, but it did.
Dude, I remember seeing that in theaters, and I was just like, yo, MCU movie, like, I'm down. I love Chris Hemsworth. He's awesome. But I did not expect that movie. And that movie, I was so happy at the end of it. I think I saw it with one of my best friends. We were both best men in each other's wedding. We hang out and watch comic movies, go to comic shops and everything together. And we went and saw it together, and we both like walked out and were like, dude, what was that? Like, that was nuts. Holy fuck. It was all like Guardians was that a little bit to me too, because obviously like Guardians was a very like obscure comic, and I knew nothing about Guardians beforehand. I watched that movie, and that's like, in my like top 5 of Marvel movies. I love that fucking movie. It's so good. And they have a fucking big tree and a raccoon.
Yeah.
And now they're like one of the most popular characters like ever, you know? Who would have thought, you know?
And Diesel.
Yeah, and Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper.
Have you seen the behind the scene because Sean Gunn does the mocap for Rocket? But he like crouches down and shit. Like you can there's a video of, you know, the big panning shot in Endgame where they're at Avengers headquarters and they're walking and they're in like the quantum suits and it's like right before they go to the tunnel and they do the big time heist thing and they're all like walking.
Yeah.
They have that scene, but it's him, but he's like crouched super down like the size of Rocket and he's basically like walking like crouched down as Rocket because he does all the mocap motion for it. It's fucking bonkers, dude. It's insane. It's so funny to like watch that shit though. I love.
They have to have so much fun filming those movies, man. Like
Dude,
all
for real.
those just.
I don't know how they can
Especially,
like
like-
film some of those like scenes and or like lines and like not just die laughing.
Or especially Chris Hemsworth, you know, as Fat Thor.
That was a huge twist I did not see coming. When I watched it first, I was like, "What?" I know some people like hate it. I fucking love it because I did not see that coming. Because this another reason why I love it more than it just being one of the funniest things ever. And you can see him just fully embracing the fat suit and everything. It's fucking great.
He's just like,
Yeah, it's so fucking great. But the fact that under all the fucking silliness, the scene where they go back to Dark World and he talks to his mom and he gets Mjolnir back and he says, "I'm worthy," is the dopest thing ever. It's like, yo, this dude is fat and depressed and he's still worthy. And I was like, because someone tried to be like, oh yeah, they like fat shamed him. Like they made fun of him because he was fat. And I was like, 2 people made jokes about him. Tony Stark and Rocket. Who would make jokes about it? Those 2. Obviously. That's in their character. They make fun of everyone. It's like it makes perfect sense. And it's not like they're like, yo, you're fucked up, man. Like, you know, it's like, get your shit into fucking gear. And I was like, do you not remember him getting his hammer and saying I'm worthy? I was like, yo, that's saying like no matter what is up, like you're still worthy. I was like, come on. See the bigger picture here, people. But yeah, oh god. Yeah, there's so many moments like that, and I hope we see some twists like that in Black Widow. But it's like I said, it's the perfect time for them to do stuff like that. They have all the power is in their hands. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And them announcing shit like Moon Knight definitely makes me think they're going to, because I haven't read much of Moon Knight stuff, but it's like Batman if he was more crazy than Batman. You know?
yeah, he's pretty much the schizophrenic Marvel Batman.
Yeah, dude. And I'm just like, yes, give me all of that. Like, I'm down. And I know there's like those famous comic panels that have gotten memed, but they're not really the comic panels. Like the one where it's like, I know you're down there, Dracula. Where's my money, you fucking nerd? And it's not real. They took the panel and they memed over it, but it's so funny. And they even do the same thing with like he calls Spider-Man in the Avengers, and he's like, Dracula, where's my money? And he's like, Dracula isn't here. He's not an Avenger. And he's not an Avenger. And he just goes, the next panel is like, that lying fuck. And I get that one's a meme too, but they're both so funny. Like I can see, obviously it'll be on Disney Plus, so I doubt he'll say like fuck or something, but I can see that type of dialogue working so well with like Moon Knight for sure. Like especially in like an MCU format. Be like, yo, he's like, Dracula, you nerd, where's my money? Like I can see that. Like I can see it happening.
They could like use Moon Knight to like test the waters to see if Deadpool would ever be successful in the MCU.
But it's obvious that he would. Like, just keep the Deadpool movies R, and then anytime he teams up, just keep it PG-13. He doesn't have to fully be full out, because obviously he's not the main focus of those movies anyway. But him, like, imagine an Avengers type movie, and Deadpool just comes in just making Deadpool remarks to like Black Panther or Doctor Strange or Star-Lord. Like, it would be fucking amazing. Like, and I know Rob Liefeld went on this like big tangent saying like Disney's fucking up, like they should be making a Deadpool cartoon and Deadpool video games. And it's like, for one, who knows if they are or not, because he pretty much says in the same statement like yeah, I mean, it's way above my grade. And he's said, like, oh, yeah, they're not doing a Deadpool 3 and whatever. And I'm like, then why is Ryan Reynolds meeting with Marvel? Like, you think they're not going to take a multi-billion-dollar franchise and keep going with it? Of course they are. Like, come on.
Absolutely.
What's wrong with you?
No, I would love to see that pop up in like a group setting Marvel movie and just like meme the shit out of some of the more like serious superheroes.
And then just be like,
you know,
what? Who is this guy?
who's this?
Who are you? What is going on? And him and Tom Holland together would be fucking gold. Like just like Tom Holland as Spider-Man is the most perfect Spider-Man to me, especially the shit he says. And he's like, "Oh, you have a metal arm," and stuff like that. Like, it's so good. Like, him interacting with Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool would just be perfection.
10 out of 10. Absolutely.
So funny. Like, I hope he doesn't show up in the third Spider-Man movie, unless it was like an end credit scene or something. But I definitely want to see them in the same scene eventually, for sure.
I love that Ryan Reynolds keeps like trolling Hugh Jackman about
it's
like
so great.
a Deadpool Wolverine team up movie. I'd love to see it. But,
This
he's committed to it.
same dude. San Diego Comic-Con exclusive pop came out today, and I went. It's a Walgreens exclusive, so I went to 2 Walgreens today to get it. But then I found out it's online only, and I was very upset about it. But it's Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, but from Wolverine Origins as a pop. So him like all bald and fucked up with the swords coming out of his hands and shit. And I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. And obviously they did it to be funny because he kills him in the end credit scene of Deadpool 2 and everything. But I was like,
Yeah.
I kind of need this, to be honest.
They've kind of just etched it in. It's a thing now.
Yeah.
Like before Ryan Reynolds Deadpool was something that everyone was like, oh, we need to forget about that. But now it's like it's funny now because you went back and
even like Green Lantern and everything. Like he just made everything that people have shown just funnier, and I love it. It's so good.
He's the perfect Deadpool. Man.
Oh yeah,
he was made for that role.
100% made for that role, definitely. So I guess that's it. Before we fully wrap up, is there anything you wanna plug before we get out of here?
Thanks for having me on the show. To anyone who listens to my band, thank you very much. Keep listening to Irrational Pull, and we have some pretty cool surprises to announce very soon.
Ooh, fancy! Oh, I know that surprise. Jake told me.
Yeah, you do.
Jake told me. It is a cool surprise, so awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right. See you guys later.
Take it easy.
Cool. We should be